Good morning, everyone. You're here with me, Jen the Taxidermy Witch, and we're having a morning where we're starting another book, doing Hoodoo in bed, okay? So I've gotten a new book. Comes from Thrift Books, a great place to get discount books. Half price or less. It's just so brilliant. And they don't sponsor me, but they can if they want to. Orders of $10 or more, which sometimes you can get 2 books and 10 orders. I'm serious. This book was like $12, but it was, you know, I got my Scott Cunningham book for under $5, okay? So, Thrift Books, it's an app, go check it out. Like I said, free shipping over $10, which is great. And we're reading The Candle in the Crossroads, a book of Appalachian conjure and Southern root work, okay? So this is taking conjure to a different, we're at a different branch of the Hoodoo section, okay? And so in this book we've got so many chapters. Let's read through the table of contents, okay? We've got preface, acknowledgments, chapter 1, magic and spirit sight in my folk culture and personal work, a view from within. Chapter 2, the 3 paths of cultivating the spirit. Chapter 3, the origin of southern conjure and root doctoring. Chapter 4, the nature and power of conjure. Chapter 5, growing your spirit. Chapter 6, baby, you stepped in something. Chapter 7, fixing yourself with good spirits. Chapter 8, ancestral spirits and graveyard magic. Chapter 9, gates to the spirit world and encountering the dark rider. Chapter 10, working with the root. There's an afterword, recommended reading and resources. And I do have to say, yep, that's true, there is no glossary or index in the back. For me, that freaks me out, because now what I have to do is I have to go through the book and put tabs in the top that say graveyard or bones or whatever. I know that they're sectioned in chapters, but if I want to know about lodestones and there's not a, there's not an index, then how am I going to remember that? So this is, for me, a book that's not my favorite because of that, but what it's going to have inside is going to be amazing. And I just know it. So, and I've not read any of this before we're here with you. We're reading it together for the first time. Let me read the very beginning. It says, there is an age-old soulful calling that comes through our spirit from the voice of magic. This voice is older than time, and it comes from a very deep place in our spirit and the ancestral echoes that flow like a river in our blood, a stream as old as the human species. It raises from an ancient place of memory. It can never be silenced or hushed. The callings of voice raise inside us and speak prayers to spirit, names of power and directives of vision, when the storm of the human world raged the most. The voice becomes louder and stronger when it is most needed, when our freedom to live and prosper is changed. This voice summons us to reach our spirit, the spirit, and the spirit world for unseen hands to tip the forces of life toward well-being of mind, soul, body, and spirit. Conjure is one such voice. Conjure and root work have endured the honors of slavery, the challenges of poverty, and the forces of racism and inequality. They have held in trust the unbreakable core of human spirit. The early ancestors of conjure and root work may have perished in body, but they have endured in spirit. It is the flame of their power spirit that passes to each true conjure and root worker. This spirit flame passes into the candles each of us light to gather the blessing of the spirit world and God to our lives. When earnestly called the crossroads of life, or at the intersection of the seen and unseen spirit world, the spirit will greet us, impossible and miraculous. To Ol Maker, the helpful spirits, the ancestor of conjure, and to those persons who seek the doctor, root, and conjure the spirit in its sacred way, that is worthy and honoring of the blood, sweat, and tears of those who preserve these ways. And again, if you are not honoring the ancestors of conjure, if you have any sorts of racism, toward black people, toward African American people. I don't know the PC word anymore. I apologize. If you harbor any sorts of racism toward that, then you are not one who should be practicing this. But if you're white folks and you completely respect those things and, you know, you justify your workings and you go by all the values of it, then you absolutely can practice it. And there was a Q&A that I read out of Star Casas's book, and I read that on my chapter, or my channel, the whole chapter, and it was like a old-style conjure Q&A. And one of the main questions was, can you practice this if you're white? If you're Caucasian? And, you know, to sum it up, there's the answer. If you have no racist boundaries, if you respect the ancestors of Hoodoo, the ancestors that came from the Africas and were drawn over as slaves, you know, if you respect all of that, then you can do this. Okay, so let's read the let's read the preface and the acknowledgements. Well, let's just see where we get. Preface, acknowledgements, and then we'll see. But basically, every morning when I wake up, before I get out of bed and I start my day, we're going to be starting with at least a chapter out of a Hoodoo book. And that's where the whole thing Hoodoo in Bed comes up. So hopefully that's fun for everybody. Alright, so preface. Preface. Preface? Preface? I'm kidding. Okay. I was born in 1963 with the veil, a localized term for the second sight. The veil in the Shenandoah Valley in Virginia, an area that is rich in folklore, folk tales, ghost stories, folk healing, and magic. Over the course of my life, there and my travels in the Americas South, I was exposed to practices of Appalachian spirituality, second sight traditions, folk magic, and conjure. Now, I've never heard it called second sight traditions. I'm really excited about that. Aspects of these are covered throughout this book. This is the source of my teachings and techniques. Other than a few very brief quotes, the stories, spiritual and magical practices, and the folk wisdom in this book have been distilled from oral traditions in my family culture and subsequent sharing with other conjure workers. Some material also came directly through the guidance of God, the source. Yes, sister, yes. We don't know why we add saffron even though it has no qualities for what we are looking for, but somehow Spirit guides our hand to choose saffron to add into that working. And you have to know that there's something bigger than you helping you. And I truly believe that. So, oh, come on, Jennifer, jeez. Okay, other than a few very brief quotes, the story spiritual, where are we at? It's too early to be crying. And the folk wisdom in this book have been distilled from oral traditions, God the source. Okay, what I have shared with you is from the traditions and practices of those who taught me. See, I am passionate about these subjects, and they do bring tears to my eyes, but could be the empath in me, and that it's the morning. I'll cry, Minnie. Okay, what I have shared with you is from the traditions and practices of those who taught me conjure, spirit work, and root doctoring, specifically from the American, Southern, and Appalachian oral traditions. Oral traditions. She's learning from people that are just passing it on orally, okay? That means something. That really does. It means something different than book reading, you guys. They do not represent a universal or orthodox practice, as there is no such thing in the American South. This practice changes from geographic location to location, family to family, and sometimes even among ethnic groups. In brief, I offer to you the soulful magic of living tradition. Okay, acknowledgements. This book has been years in the making, and there are many beings, human, in and out of their bodies, and other who have contributed to me as a conjureman and to the life of I'm a conjure woman. I'm a conjure man. That's cool to say. This is by Orion Foxwood. Well, now my eyes are just watering. But originally I was crying. Okay. Tearing up at the beautiful words. Not a rarity for me. Okay. Okay, I dedicate this book to... Thank you, and many of all the good spirits of life be blessed with seeking your spirit. I dedicate this book to God, Great Spirit, and the countless names of the source. If you have everything about everything I am, and you, without you, there would be nothing that I could do. May I see me the way you saw me when you made me. My blood mother, Betty Jean, and my sister. So he's thanking a lot of people. That's gorgeous. Even he thanks his granny. He thanks Aubrey Taylor Smith. He thanks Marie Laveau, the 19th century queen of New Orleans voodoo, for being an example to the power of conjure in the face of racial adversity. My altar light burns for you. That's awesome. My dear friend Jim Midget for his list of things too long to mention. Priestess Miriam Chimani, Queen Mother of the Voodoo Spiritual Temple in New Orleans, for the many years of love, friendship, spiritual wisdom that you shared with me. He thanks Bloody Mary, New Orleans Voodoo Queen, for your love, friendship, integrity. Publisher family, beloved Lady Cress Moon Spinners, for your boundless love and wisdom. My Conjure Crossroads family, Mama Star Casas. Hey! I got Star Casas's book. That's Old Style Conjure, Root Work. Old Style Conjure, Hoodoo, Root Work, and Folk Magic. Great book. So he is good buds with Star Casas, his Crossroads family. Mama Star Casas, Susan Diamond, Auntie Cindy Tudo, and Shimmering Wolf, for your love, wisdom, guidance, and friendship to the path of Hoodoo, Conjure, and Root Doctoring. That's really, really cool. Okay. Kat Yornwood for stabilizing... Don't worry, guys. It's almost done. We're going to get into the book. The Spirit of Coco Roba Chu, New Orleans conjure man and blues musician extraordinaire. And to the conjurers who had the power to conjure and prevail and give us all the wisdom of their lives. Your spiritual power and guidance is us through the veil of forgetfulness to the light of spiritual awakening. Okay, chapter 1. Let's get on to it, yes? Chapter 1. Magic and spirit sight in my folk culture and personal work. A view from within. There is a field where matter, mind, and magic meet. Meet me there and let's make magic that the... Let's make the magic that made the world. This reminds me, and it's by Orion Foxwood, the guy who wrote the book. Okay. It reminds me of a Rumi quote that I really love, and I don't know if he kind of doctored it up, but I'm just going to say the Rumi quote is, what is it? It comes from a big long poem, but the quote that everybody sees in memes is, out beyond ideas, this is it. Out beyond ideas of knowing and not knowing, there is a field. I will meet you there. That's the Rumi quote. Here's the one that's right here. There is a field where matter, mind, and magic meet. Meet me there and let's make the magic that made the world. I like it. But it is a lot like that Rumi quote. Not calling anyone out, just saying. This invocation came through me during a session of turning my awareness inward toward the eternal stream of ancestral presence, essence, and the universal rhythm that knows no end and is always beginning. Many cultures, all this technique meditation. Call this technique meditation. My mother called it the knowing. It is into this state of being that all conjurers go for inspiration, incarnation, evocation, and invocation. It dwells where the web of the fate and the river of stars join in a dance of creation and revelation. To encourage in these states of being, magic workers must part the perceived veil between the worlds and take the spirit of their seeking to that place where humanity and divinity meet. That's really beautiful. The Crossroads. At the crossroads, the gate to the web of fate opens and the spirit roads are available. The mouth of creation opens to the mill of stars and magic is made manifest. Place your feet firmly on the existence of your life in this world, for that is the magical dance floor. Love that. This is our magical dance floor. It is. Reclaim your presence in this world as the head of the great serpentine path of magic. It is, its vertebrae are the steps you have walked before that lead to you into this world at this time. This writer can really paint a mental picture, and I like that. For those of you who have trouble with visualization, take these words, like that right there, for instance. It's, you know, reclaim your presence in the world as the head of the great serpentine path of magic. Its vertebrae are the steps. You're imagining walking up this snake, you know, your spine, kundalini, awakening, yeah? Lifting that veil. Its vertebrae are the steps you have walked before that lead you into this world at this time. Its winding ways draw the worlds into one egg. Join me on a walk from my first home to building the home within that knows no bounds. The journey to my spirit and into the spirit world. If the path of the conjurer calls to you, this will be a good crystal ball for viewing the path to walking in the spirit land. This book is about spirit work, spiritual wisdom, love, and power. The direct partnership with healthy spirit forces. It is about bearing the candle flame of our inner spirit to the crossroads of transition and realigning with the very forces that are our source. The journey into spirit. When I moved from my family home and Southern culture in the Sedona Valley of Virginia to Maryland in the 1980s, I was on a quest for more people like me. I sought freedom. I'm so excited for Texas. If any of you are Texas witches, especially East Texas or Louisiana, I found one in Louisiana. Thank you, Mandy. But if you guys are Texas witches, please message me. There's nothing more than I would like to have a community of friends waiting for me when I get there. It would be so fun. Okay. So, I sought freedom to be the close... Okay. I was on a quest for more people like me. I sought freedom to be out of the closet as a gay man and a magic worker, and more access to teachers and information on magical practices. I was beginning my voyage into the discovery of myself on many levels, a common theme for a young man, especially one, as my mom would say, who was so damn different. Sounds like Peggy. I have a very long story about Peggy and this type of topic, so please someone type it in the comments so I won't forget to do that story time. Oh boy, Peggy's my mother. It was so damn different. I had no idea that it would take for me to become what my spirit had chosen for this walk of life. In retrospect, it is good that spirits born as humans, such as you and I, who are marked to be magic workers, do not know the fine print and implications of a life devoted to magic. I think that if we did, we would surely run for the metaphorical hills and hide beneath a cloth of mediocrity. Comical, too, this writer. Oh, my back. The spirits that work with us are generous to shelter our direction perception from details of the work we are called to do until life has carved out of us the ability to receive it, the inner clarity to see it, and the skills to implement it. One thing I know is that if you came into your body at birth marked for magic, there is no way One thing I know is that if you came into your body at birth marked for magic, there's no way around it. You must not betray your spirit's voice and turn away from what I have found to be a life of meaning and miracles. Dear reader, walk with me through a century or so of pages into old magic, deep spirit, wise ways, and paths of recovery, discovery, and sorcery that work with and from the source and center. If what you read speaks to you, speaks to what your spirit knows, like when you're reading it, if you're just like, yes, 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 I so agree with that, I'm so connecting with it, I never knew this knowledge, but it just makes sense and feels like you already knew it. Okay. If what you read speaks to you, or what your spirit knows, then may choose good spirits who sit above you, guide you to through this journey into the root of all things, the living spirit. May the wise ancestors place your feet in the right relationship with the directive of your spirit. And may you know when to make magic and when to let magic make you. That's a beautiful little segment. Let me tell you if we're going to get through this chapter. No, it's pretty long. So let me read you baby steps, and then we'll come back and read some more when I get back from work. Or tomorrow morning. Okay, the baby steps. The kind of beginning described herein is the most important first step anyone who plans to walk the shadow roads that lead in and out of the world forms, forces, shapes, and shapers. It's a journey to recover one's own spirit. The spirit within the interface point between all forms of life, seen and unseen, and spirit pathways. My journey began as all true roads to the soul do, away from the familiar track of the voices outside to a recovery and the knowing of the voice within, the one that inspired my birth. But first comes the tuning in to what we, without external contaminations, feel and sense about our course. Then comes the unbinding of illusions, fear, and conscious reality to make room for the re-waving of self-form to the core of spirit. Indeed, it is all started like the Fool card in the tarot, by stepping off the cliff of the familiar past into a vague cloud of inner guidance and into a new and foreign land of opportunity and challenge. And I just did that big long video, 2 videos on the Fool card. And remember how we talked about this is you before you start your journey. You know, all you've been doing is playing around and not really learning and just kind of observing and not focusing, and now here's you starting your journey. So it's a really good metaphor. I like that a lot. Be good if I can remember where I was half the time. In order to know the spirit world, you must first know and manage your spirit, a task more challenging than it may sound. That's absolutely the truth. It's a hard time to get to know your actual spirit. Think of when you look in the mirror. You know how uncomfortable that is? And that's a whole nother video, but it's kind of the same thing when you're first starting to learn to be present with yourself, your spirit, the true purity of yourself. And we learn that a lot in meditation, don't we? But practicing staring in a mirror is a really interesting thing. And try to do it every day, and try to stare longer, right into your own eyes, and not break away. There's some interesting things that can happen there in the mind, I think. Okay, we are not satisfied. Making spirit relationships and thereby getting into creation's magical mix as a worker in the field of spirit that feeds and sustains all life. Did I mention that root workers and conjurers are nosy by nature? We want to know how life operates. We are not satisfied to sit in the silences. We get in the kitchen when life is being cooked up. These forms of magic are about power. Healthy power is about our ability to create our lives in partnership in the web of our life. Magic is about the freedom of the spirit to grow. Healthy healthily without the tyranny of outside forces attempting to silence its inner voice. This little section is called Stepping Out Onto the Cloud, and we'll probably in there. We might get through the foundations of magic. Let's see how quickly we can read. Outside to a recovery of the knowing voice within. Oh no, sorry. Stepping out onto the cloud. Like Moses in search of the promised land, I just knew that the big city offered me a promise. It gave me options to reveal the pulse driving outward from within, and a sort of invisibility cloak under which I could be me in all my unfolding facets. Indeed, it exposed me to the teachers in the magical arts and opportunities for techniques to blossom. In the course of the Great Adventure, I have studied or have been initiated into Wiccan and traditional witchcraft lineages and New Orleans voodoo practices, worked within Western mystery practices, refined and deepened my fairy work, and explained my conjure repertoire. I think it's cool that she does conjure and fae work. I've not met a lot of people that do that besides myself. So, and again, I'm really just getting into and understanding all about hoodoo and conjure, folk magic, Appalachian, mountain conjure is all such awesome topics. And, you know, I'm not a pro at any of it. I'm an eclectic witch, and I try and put as much together as I can and use it all respectfully to the best of my abilities in my practice, right? Okay, so I have studied or been initiated into Wiccan and traditional witchcraft lineages and New Orleans voodoo practices, worked with Western mystery practices, refined my deepening fairy work, and expand my conjure repertoire. I was on a search for truth that led me to new paths, such as witchcraft, and deeper into the magic of my cultural roots, conjure. Little did I know that ultimately, magic starts from knowing the deep, abiding voice from within. In many ways, I felt like Dorothy in the classic film The Wizard of Oz. Bless you, Judy Garland. They gave you such a fucking hard time in that movie. I mean, they kept her up for days on amphetamines just to get good cinema, you know, because they wanted her to act differently, so they sleep deprived her. And I mean, what they did to her on that movie set was horrible. A lot of the extras were sexually harassing her. She was actually a very young girl at the time. A lot of people think she was of age. She was not. Oh, lordy. Okay, so in many ways I felt like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. The thing I truly longed for most was home. And like Dorothy, the power to get there was with or in me all along. What I did not understand was that home is an inside job. I was blessed to encounter and be taught by teachers who understood magic, spirituality, and mystical work. They knew the necessary elements of developing a natural conjurer, a person with blood-borne spirit talents. Okay, blood-borne spirit talents doesn't mean you come from any line of lineage. It just means that you have something like, perhaps you're an empath. That gives you a blood-borne spirit talent. or blood-borne talent. Maybe that's not a blood-borne spirit talent. But with clairaudience, like I was gifted, where I can hear things that come from nowhere, that is a blood-borne spirit that I can hear. A spirit talent, right? Alright, so, and the skills needed for encountering and working in the spirit world in ways that leverage very potent effects. This is not to say that they were always loving, kind, or ethical. They were gifted, and they were human. I also did not realize that I already had within me, from my magical culture and familia magical practices. Sometimes we have to go away from ourselves to find out ourselves. Within reservation, that is exactly how I came into the potency of my witchery and conjure. My road to discovering my spiritual, mystical, and magical path has been one of revelation, retrieval and interrogation. It has been a path of deep inlooking, sometimes earth-shattering challenge, and exchange with spirit beings in a way that left me permanently woven into the inscape of our world, and poised at the crossroads where human and other encounter, exchange, and reveal wisdoms only known by those brave enough to have walked the path between light and shadow. This book will present some of my discoveries on the path of conjure or spirit work, as it is called in my culture. She calls it spirit work, rather than conjure, as well as some practical insights, techniques, and practices. So we are right at 30 minutes. We don't have time to read into the foundations of magic, but that's where we'll be coming back, okay? The foundations of magic. I'll mark my page. We're leaving off on page 6 at The Candle in the Crossroads by Mr. Orion Foxwood. So, this is Jen, the Taxidermy Witch. Thank you for joining my series Hoodoo in Bed. We've just started The Candle in the Crossroads, so if you don't have it, perhaps you can find it on your Kindle, download and follow along, or order it on Thrift Books, which I think I bought the last copy on Thrift Books, but there's more out there. Check eBay, check Amazon, check your half-price bookstore, and that. Maybe Barnes & Noble can order it for you. I'm not sure. But as soon as my last book gets here, I have one more Hoodoo book coming in the mail. As soon as that book gets here, I'm going to show my entire witchcraft book collection. Okay? All my Hoodoo books, all my witchcraft books, all my Native American books, all my Egyptian books, anything that has to do with and can connect to magic and magical practice, okay? So thanks you for joining me with Jen the Taxidermy Witch with Hoodoo in Bed. I even have my bedtime toothache mojo bag still in my bra that I sleep with, so I will see you guys soon, and have a beautiful day. If you've not yet, make sure you like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy my content and want to be here, because I'm making videos on witchcraft every single day. I'm showing you the orders I'm making on my Etsy page. You can join me on Patreon, where eventually we will have a content that's exclusive to Patreon. Okay? So, for those of you who are already patrons, thank you so much. You give me the funds to be able to get new books that we can read together. Have a beautiful day, you guys. Make sure to heighten your clairvoyance as you can. Bye-bye.